Hello and welcome to Study IQ. I am your friend Rahul Saigaonkar. I hope you are all in good spirits today. We are going to talk about a topic from economics. Recently, the government of India has approved a new corporation to monetize the public sector unit land as well as buildings. Recently, a union cabinet meeting occurred, and in that meeting, it was decided to create a new corporation to monetize the assets of central public sector enterprises or central public sector units. So, in this video, we'll understand about this new corporation, what is this, also why it is very important for monetizing the assets of central public sector enterprises. Apart from this, at the end of the discussion, I will also give you very important information from exam perspective about some other decisions that the cabinet has taken with respect to creation of some other institutes. Let us begin our discussion. But let's first talk about a question. How will this discussion help you? I'm quite sure that last year you must have heard that the government announced National Monetization Pipeline. This was announced in the Union Budget 2021-22, where the government had said that we are going to monetize the public sector enterprises or the public assets. So a question related to that, simply from this itself, a question can come out like asset monetization is necessary for creating employment opportunities, for enabling economic growth, and for seamlessly integrating rural and semi-urban areas for overall public welfare. Discuss how the government plans to do it. And taking a step towards this monetization pipeline itself, the government has now approved the creation of a new corporation which will be spearheading monetization process. So that is how we'll understand this new corporation. To get to know all this information, stay with me. And if you want to follow me on social media platforms, this is the ID that I have at the rate Rahul Sai 222. If you have any queries, if you have any doubts, just directly message me on Instagram. I do reply on Saturdays and Sundays. And if you're preparing for competitive exams, do visit our website studyiq.com. And please remember, use the code Rahul33. The discount is available till 21st March 2022. This is a holy offer. You will get additional 33% discount on any course that you buy across Study IQ platform. Right. With that note, let us begin our discussion. As I told you, recently there was a meeting of the Union Cabinet which was chaired by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. They have now approved setting up of National Land Monetization Corporation. Now, this corporation will undertake monetization of surplus land and building assets of central public sector enterprises and other government agencies. Now, as I told you, there is a background to this because in last year's budget, in budget 2021-22, Nirmala Sitharaman announced a big trillion plan where the government came up with the national monetization pipeline. The basic idea here was to lease out government assets such as roads, railway sector, railway station to private sector or any other assets of public sector enterprises to the private sector so that money comes, so that money flows to the government, which will be used ultimately for public welfare, for job creation, for running the economy and for public welfare in general. So, taking a step forward towards this, now the government has decided they will create something called as NLMC, National Land Monetization Corporation, which will be set up as a government-owned company with an initial authorized share capital of 5,000 crore. That means this is going to be paid up later on, but the corporation will start with a paid-up share capital of 150 crore. This corporation will be under the Department of Public Enterprises under the Ministry of Finance. The government statement after the cabinet meeting also suggested that the board of directors of this National Land Monetization Corporation will comprise of senior government officials as well as some eminent experts. Whenever this happens, we'll talk about that also, who are the board directors. But how will this National Land Monetization Corporation help eventually? That is the agenda of today's discussion. See, we all know that the public sector companies or the public sector enterprises have huge amount of land and huge amount of assets with them. And many a times these assets are unused. Many a times they are underused also. And it is said that the public sector companies in India, CPSEs, I'm talking about central public sector enterprises, 3,400 acres of land and other non-core assets are with the government organizations which are up for monetization. The asset monetization was proposed last year. See, we need to understand the difference between asset monetization and disinvestment. Please remember this. Disinvestment, it involves selling the stakes of public sector enterprises, and we are doing this also. See, first of all, the government has announced National Monetization Pipeline. Disinvestment is something separate where the government will sell the stakes. But in monetization, the government will lease out things to private sector. So in disinvestment, selling of stakes, that means the government is taking a step back. But here, imagine there is a central public sector enterprise where the government says we are going to disinvest it. We are going to allow the private sector to take over that particular company. But before taking over, government has to assess what are the assets of that company. Does it have any land? Can they monetize the land? Can they use the land and then sell the asset? Then disinvest basically later on. That is why this NLMC has come up. See, the CPSCs hold considerable amount of surplus land, unused and underused core assets in the nature of land, building, infrastructure, etc. If we sell everything or if we disinvest everything to the private sector, they will be up for more and more profits, because whatever basic thing is needed, we are already disinvesting into the private sector. But before disinvesting, if we monetize those assets, then won't it be beneficial for the government? That is why this NLMC will be very important for all the CPSCs that are undergoing strategic disinvestment now, or some sort of a closure of, or if there are any sick industries now, the NLMC will be responsible for monetizing stuffs of that particular central public sector enterprise. This is going to bring a lot of efficiency, especially in terms of financial efficiency, as well as financial propriety will be higher once NLMC starts working. So how will this NLMC help? What will be its role? It is expected that the National Land Monetization Corporation is going to own the land, it is going to hold, it is going to manage as well as monetize land plus some of the core assets, some of the non-core assets of central public sector enterprises. How will they help? They will first of all complement the national monetization pipeline. They will also aid and advise, support the central public enterprises. They will bring in the best practices, because the corporation is going to hire other private individuals who are going to bring best practices, who are going to bring technical expertise to ultimately manage the CPSC. We all know that some CPSCs, they do bring profit, right? There are some CPSCs which bring loss, and what the government does right now is take out the profit from this and help these loss-making companies. Isn't it better, isn't it prudent to ultimately disinvest these companies? And if you are disinvesting these companies, then first let us monetize the surplus that they have and then ultimately disinvest or go for closure of sick industries. So it makes sense to bring this National Land Monetization Corporation. Let us hope that it works and it brings benefits to the Indian exchequer. And ultimately that money that goes to the exchequer will be used for welfare purposes. So that is how the National Land Monetization Corporation will help. Apart from this, there were some other decisions that were taken in the cabinet. The Union Cabinet meeting, apart from approving the NLMC, they also opened up mining of new group of minerals as part of India's strategy to boost our domestic production. We are looking for import substitution. And that is why now the cabinet has approved some minerals like glauconite, potash. Now see, glauconite and potash, they are mainly used in making fertilizers. Apart from that, emerald, platinum, I don't need to tell you why emerald is used or why platinum group of metals are used, right? They are rich metals, they have high price. Apart from that, andalusite, selemonite and molybdenum are other minerals which are used in various industries. So these will be opened up for mining with a specific rate of royalty. This has also been approved by the cabinet. Please remember these things, that now these are also up for also up for mining. Apart from that, some other big decisions were taken. The cabinet finally approved the memorandum of understanding between ICMR, the Indian Council for Medical Research, and Oxford University, where both of them are going to work to eliminate 3 vector-borne diseases. Now, first of all, somebody tell me in the comment section what is the meaning of a vector-borne disease. Now, I have given examples here 3 on which the Oxford University and ICMR will work. Malaria, so what is the vector here? Visceral leishmaniasis, what is the vector here? Filariasis, what is the vector here? Do let me know what are the vectors in malaria, leishmaniasis, filariasis, and what are the symptoms of these diseases. Now, ICMR and Oxford University will try to eliminate these 3 vector-borne diseases. Apart from that, a very big news also came up. The cabinet in this particular meeting also approved the establishment of WHO, World Health Organization. Please note, global center. It will be a global center in India, global center for traditional medicine. GCTM, it is going to come up in Jamnagar, Gujarat. Do remember this particular location, because many a times in state PSC factual questions do come. So if a question comes up, where is the WHO, World Health Organization Global Center for Traditional Medicine being set up? It is being set up in Jamnagar, Gujarat, which has now been approved by the government of India. Now, this will be the first global center which will promote the Ayush system, that is Ayurvedic, Unani, Siddha, homeopathy systems across the globe. It's a very good news for the entire Ayush facilities in India. So these were some of the other decisions that were just for your information, so that you prepare well from exam perspective. That is it in this discussion. Thank you for watching this video. I hope this was helpful for you. Jai Hind.